It's 1986, Colorado Springs, a house on Quail Court. Inside, there are 9 people sleeping, 7 children, 2 parents. It's a full house. It should be the safest place on earth, but at some point between midnight and 6 a.m., a shadow moved through the hallway. It didn't stop for the electronics. It didn't look for jewelry. It walked straight to the master bedroom, where 7-month-old Christopher Abeyta was sleeping in a crib at the foot of his parents' bed. The shadow reached down, and then it just walked out. When Gil and Bernice Abeyta woke up that morning, the house was quiet. Too quiet. They looked at the crib. It was empty. No note, no struggle, just an open space where a life used to be. Today, we're looking at one of the most baffling cold cases in American history. A case where the lead suspect was staring the family in the face the entire time, and yet nearly 40 years later, the crib is still empty. Christopher was the caboose of the Abeyta family, the 7th child. On the night of July 14th, the house was busy as usual. The older kids were doing their thing. Gil and Bernice were tired. At about 12:30 a.m., Bernice fed Christopher. She placed him back in his crib just inches away from her own pillow. Think about that. The person who took him had to be silent. They had to be confident. And they had to know exactly where that crib was located in the dark. At 6:30 a.m., Bernice woke up. She glanced over. Nothing. She thought maybe Gil had taken the baby to another room. She checked. He hadn't. She checked with the siblings. Panic doesn't start as a scream. It starts as a cold realization in the pit of your stomach. The front door was unlocked. A basement window screen had been removed and left leaning against the house. But here's the thing. The person didn't go through the basement. They went through the front door. The window was a distraction, a stage-managed break-in that didn't quite make sense. The police arrived, and, as they always do, they looked at the parents, they looked at the siblings, but there was no evidence of foul play by the family, no motive, no history. But there was someone else, someone who had been haunting the Abeyta family for months. To understand this, we have to talk about Gil Abeyta. He had been having an affair, a woman named Emma Bradshaw. Now, the affair was over. Gil had chosen his family. He had chosen Bernice. But Emma wasn't exactly the let go and move on type. In the months leading up to Christopher's disappearance, the Abeyta home was under siege. Hanging phones in the middle of the night, dozens of them. Someone was following Bernice. Someone was watching the house. Bernice even told the police she felt like she was being hunted. And then there's the incident with the garage. Shortly before the abduction, someone had entered their garage and let the air out of the tires on Bernice's car. It's classic escalation, a series of "I can get to you" messages. The night Christopher disappeared, the phone rang. It rang at 12:30 a.m., right when Bernice was feeding the baby. When she picked up, the caller hung up. Later, records would show that call came from a woman named Emma Bradshaw. But wait, Emma had an alibi. She told police she was at home, in bed, in a different city. Except she wasn't alone. She claimed she was with a man. When police talked to that man, he initially backed her up. But years later, he admitted he had lied for her. He wasn't with her that night at all. So where was Emma? The investigation was a mess from the start. The 1980s weren't the era of DNA and high-def doorbell cams. It was the era of, we'll check the neighborhood and hope for a tip. The police didn't search Emma's house for weeks. They didn't check her car for fibers or evidence of a baby. By the time they took her seriously, the trail was cold. But Bernice Abeyta, she never stopped. She became her own detective. She spent 30 years knocking on doors, filing lawsuits, and staring down the woman she believed stole her son. She even sued Emma Bradshaw for defamation, not because she wanted money, but because she wanted to get Emma on a witness stand. She wanted her under oath. In court, Emma's behavior was strange. She couldn't remember key details. She was evasive. The judge in that civil case actually wrote that Emma Bradshaw was a prime suspect and that her testimony was wholly incredible. In legal terms, that's a polite way of saying she was lying through her teeth. But a prime suspect isn't a defendant, and a civil judge's opinion isn't a criminal conviction. There was no body, no blood, no Christopher. Theories started to fly. Was he taken to be sold? Was it a revenge kidnapping where the child was raised by someone else, never knowing his real name? That's the hope, isn't it? That somewhere there's a man in his late 30s living a normal life, unaware that his mother spent every waking breath looking for him. But there's a darker possibility. If you take a baby to hurt the parents, what do you do with the evidence when the heat gets too high? In 2017, Bernice Abeyta passed away. She spent her final days still asking the same questions, still looking at the door. She died without knowing if her son was alive or dead. Think about the cruelty of that. To take a child from a mother's bedside while she sleeps, to let her live 30 years in the silence of that empty room. The case is still open. The Colorado Springs Police Department still has it on their books. They have a lead suspect. They have a motive. They have a timeline of harassment. What they don't have is a confession, and they don't have Christopher. Nearly 40 years later, in 2025, Christopher's siblings uncovered new evidence from that fateful night and released an updated age-progressed image through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, showing what he might look like today at 39. The family continues pushing for answers, and the case remains active. Someone knows what happened in that hallway on Quail Court. Someone knows why the basement screen was moved, and someone knows where that 7-month-old boy went. If you're out there and you're listening to this, maybe you've noticed a discrepancy in your own past, a birth certificate that doesn't look right, a family story that feels like a script. Christopher would be 39 years old today. He has a family waiting for him. Or he has a killer waiting for the clock to run out. But secrets have a way of outliving the people who keep them. Sleep well. If this case chilled you, or if you want to see more unsolved mysteries like this, hit that subscribe button on The Silent Witness and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Like this video if you want justice for Christopher, and share it because someone out there might hold the key to solving this. Thank you for watching.